I believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear them. So come with me as we take a walk down Fascination Street. Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is with actor, writer, director, and musician Joseph Poliquin. In this episode, we talk about where Joe grew up, what got him into music and eventually into acting, and then we talk about some of his recent and upcoming projects. He tells fun stories from his time on American Horror Story and working with Kathy Bates and Evan Peters, before telling us stories about working with Tom Hanks on the new film Greyhound, which is available now on Apple TV. Joe is also in the upcoming film Project Power, along with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Jamie Foxx. And later this year, Joe is going to be in the film All My Life, directed by Mark Myers. Joe does let me play one of his songs, so pay attention. This was recorded during all the self-distancing due to the coronavirus outbreak. So if that is over by now, woohoo! If not, damn it. But either way, this is my conversation with actor, writer, director, and musician Joseph Poliquin. Welcome to Fascination Street podcast, Joseph Poliquin. How you doing today, Joseph?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good.
Awesome. Before we really get started, am I under a correct assumption that you are Joseph Poliquin the Fifth?
Yeah, that's correct.
Holy moly.
It's Joseph Henry Poliquin V, actually.
Wow. Well, that's cool. What makes all of the other Joseph Henrys so dope that people kept being named after him?
Well, the first Joseph Henry Poliquin, he was one of the enlisted soldiers in World War II. It's crazy because his son, which is my great-grandfather, was actually George Poliquin, but he loved his dad so much, and when his dad passed away, he wanted to take his name. So he changed his name to Joseph Poliquin. And the rest is history.
That's dope.
Thank you.
The reason I bring that up, I guess, is my name is Steve Owens, and my dad's name is Steve Owens. My brother's name is Steve Owens, and my son's name is Steve Owens.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
We don't have any numbers, though. There's no junior. There's no the third. It's nothing like that.
Well, that's original, though.
Is it? It's like we couldn't think of any other names, so we just kept throwing Steve out. Can I call you Joe, or is it Joseph?
Joe's fine.
All right. Joe, tell me about where you were born and raised, man. Where are you from?
I'm actually born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
The best crawfish etouffee I ever had in my life was in Baton Rouge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, what's the family business? What do your parents do?
My dad's a card dealer and craps dealer at the casinos. His wife is the pit boss at the casino.
That seems like a conflict of interest.
I thought so, too.
Well, that is awesome. I'm assuming that they met, just out somewhere. Oh, no, probably at work. Yeah, that's cool.
No, actually, they didn't. Actually, my grandfather, after he got out of the Marines, he became a prison guard. And he met my dad's wife, because she was a prison guard, too. And he introduced her to his son, and they fell in love.
Wait, just so that I'm clear, your dad's father introduced him to his current wife?
Yep.
Okay, so my mother introduced me to my current wife.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's dope. It's so weird how
your parents have better choices than we do.
Exactly what I was going to say. My mom actually said, "You make terrible decisions when it comes to women, so meet this person."
Hey, if it works, that's amazing.
Yeah, we're almost 20 years married, so I would say it is working.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you very much. So, you're growing up as a young child eating the best crawfish etouffee in the world in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Baton Rouge. Then all of a sudden, I'm assuming, somehow a guitar fell on your head and you became a guitarist. Tell me how that happened.
It was kind of like that. I was playing piano at a really young age.
Why?
Well, even though my family's amazing, I love my family, I had a pretty hard couple of years growing up for a while because of stepfathers and outside, influences to my parents. But it was difficult on me, and I found it playing music, playing piano. It got me out of that moment, and it also would entertain my family and make them happier. When I realized that, I was like, oh, I gotta keep playing this music. And when I was 16, my aunt came back from Mexico with a Mexican Stratocaster, and she gave that to me for my birthday, and I never stopped playing since then.
That is a kick-ass birthday present.
It really was.
Do you still have it?
No, actually. I'm 33 right now, so that was 17 years ago.
Do you still have your nose?
My nose from American Horror Story?
No, your nose. The one that's on your face right now?
Yes, I still do.
So you've had that for 33 years, but you couldn't hang on to that Mexican Strat.
well, it wasn't like a Fender Stratocaster. It wasn't a Mexican Fender Stratocaster. It was like a Mexican Strat from like a third-party brand, and it only actually lasted me for like 4 or 5 years before it just stopped working.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. So eventually you got into a band, right?
Oh, yeah.
What was the name of this band?
The first band that I formed was North Show. My grandmother passed away. Or actually, the first band I formed was called Fondling Amber, but that was before they invented the Amber Alerts. So after that happened, I was like, that's not such a good band name. And yeah, so I was like, I got to change this band name, man. And my grandmother passed away, so I named it after her. And her last name was North Show. She's a Filipino woman. Her and my grandfather met in Vietnam, fell in love, and he promised. She was working on him when he was injured in the war, and he promised her that he'd bring her back to America.
Oh, sweet! You have a rich history of love stories in your family. I'm digging this. And so, what kind of music was this?
It was like alternative punk, pretty much alternative rock and punk.
Like who?
If I had to compare it to anybody, it'd be like Jimmy Eat World.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool as shit. And so you toured, right?
I did.
Was it that band that toured, or was it a different band?
Well, that band was the first time that I played in California. Of course, your first show across country has got to go terrible, so it was pretty bad. But after that band, I ended up starting my own group again, and without like musicians helping me write the songs like normal. I write all the stuff. I go in the studio. I'll bring various musicians in. I'll have various musicians play live with me. And since my parents used to call me Henry V when they were mad at me when I was younger, I just go by that name now.
So your professional musician name is Henry V?
Yeah.
That's dope. I love it. You did mention going into the studio and whatnot. Is there music out there that people can hear?
There is. I like to make it a little hard to find, but I can tell your viewers about it, or your audience about it, because I'm planning on going into a professional studio and getting a professional album mixed very soon. Mm-hmm. Right now it's just demos that I've made at friends' studios or in my living room, but you can find it on SoundCloud.com/Henry V or ReverbNation.com/HT5.
HT5, well, that makes sense. Now, feel free to say no, and if you say no, I'll cut this out, no worries. But can I play one of those songs?
I mean, yeah.
Do you want to pick it and then introduce it right now, right here?
Oh, man. All right. There's a song called Suitable Fascist, and it's one that I did at my friend's studio. Like I said, I just brought in some various musicians to play with me. They're going to be credited on the track. They're awesome people. They did a great job. I had Jordan Ashford playing drums and Andrew Moss playing bass.
Nice. Here it is, guys. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate you not saying no. I love having music on my show. I have
That's
had
cool, man.
so much music, it's crazy. As a matter of fact, since you're a pop punk kid, on an episode that hasn't come out yet, I interviewed Scott Russo from Unwritten Law.
Oh, awesome. Cool.
I get to play Kalen on it, so that's cool.
That's awesome, dude.
Very excited about that. All right, back to you.
I like this podcast already.
Thanks. So, how long were you a touring musician?
Oh, man, I'm still a touring musician. Actually, one of the last things that happened before the mother effing quarantine, Riff Raff, I don't know if you know Jody High Roller, if you've heard of him.
Sure.
Yeah, Riff Raff hit me up. He had this contest, and I won the contest, and now I'm his guitarist. So I'm supposed to go on tour with him and play guitar for him.
Whoa.
But the quarantine happened, and I guess that all got pushed back. But yeah, the last message I got from him was his list of dates, and he said, when can you be near me on this tour? I don't have a guitarist yet. And I was like, yeah, I'm coming. And I got in my car, and I went up to, I was going to Illinois because that was his first date. And it was like March 17th was the date, and I was going up there on March 15th, the day that they locked us all down.
Oh, no.
Yeah, man. So I made it to Arkansas and got the phone call from my friend. He said, oh, did you see Jody's website? He postponed the tour. I was like, you got to be kidding me, man. And it's like, but I know as soon as he hits that tour, whenever quarantine's up, as soon as he hits that tour, I'll be on there.
Nice. Well, that's cool. So I guess what I really meant to ask was, when did you turn your attention to acting, and how did that come about?
Whenever I was younger, I was in church plays with my family, and then whenever we stopped going to church and I started going to high school, I was always like auditioning for drama class and stuff, but I was never getting the parts. So I was never able to be part of a production, but I always had it in me. I always wanted to. And from an early age, I don't know if you remember, was it Dennis the Menace? Do you remember that?
Of course.
Okay, so I was 7 years old, and my aunt came up to me, and she's like, I showed your picture to this guy. He said he was a producer. He's making this movie. He wants you to audition for it. And she gave me his phone number and information, and it was for the lead role in Dennis the Menace. And she gave it to me for my birthday. She's like, so I hope you get it. And I was like all excited. And we drove away. My mom took the paper and crumbled it up and threw it away. And I went, what are you doing? And she goes, your aunt is going senile. She goes, this is an old TV show. They're not doing this right now. A year later, the remake comes out. And I'm like, Mom! So
was Walter Matthau
in
what's his name?
in the movie, in the remake, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, man, that could have been me. And I was like, so from a very young age, I had this idea that like, all right, my family had already met people that work on these movies. They made that movie in Louisiana, so they were looking for a young local, I guess, to play Dennis the Menace. I don't know how that worked, but it was just like, it's so crazy that it was real to me at such a young age. So I remember like listening to the script of Toy Story. Like I watched the movie like 4 times and knew every word in Toy Story. It's just like, yeah, I don't know. I always wanted to do it, just never had the chance. So whenever I got older, one day, one of my friends was like, hey, they're looking for extras for American Horror Story. And I was thinking, oh, that'd be cool, be on American Horror Story. Yeah. So I sent in my pictures. It turned out that I was one of 5 core background that were there for all 7 months on Freak Show. And because of that, I got to hang out with Evan Peters and Kathy Bates. And I just started talking to Evan Peters one night because he was really cool. He wanted to talk to me. Like he started the conversation. He was telling me, man, you've been here. You've been busting your ass. You're doing a great job. You ever think about being an actor? And I was like, I mean, yeah, definitely. But like, where do I begin? He's like, oh, dude, I think you got it. He goes, yeah, and get yourself headshots and an agent. That's where you start. And I was like, sounds like a possible goal, like something, just go pay for headshots and look for an agent. Getting an agent was really hard. But when I got my headshots and I started sending them out, I started getting auditions. And once you start getting auditions, you just take it seriously, this is a possibility. You know that you could get something down the line, and you take it seriously. You don't waste the person's time that's auditioning you. And one thing led to another, and there I had an acting career.
Sweet.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
You know those popping phone handle things that you see on everyone's phones nowadays? Well, how would you like to put your logo on them? Does your podcast or band need new merch? Do you want to bring attention to your new book or film? Maybe you need something unique for your Patreon or crowdfunding campaign. Then visit thelogopop.com, where you can customize them with the logo of your podcast, band, business, art, school mascot, or whatever else you can think of. These are way more affordable than you may think at thelogopop.com. Mention where you heard this ad and get free shipping on your entire order. Remember, that's thelogopop.com to order your custom popping phone handles. That's thelogopop.com.
Let's get back into it.
Tell me about Kathy Bates. Now, I understand that she is the horrible, wicked... Just kidding. I hear she is one of the sweetest people on set ever.
She is so nice. She's so cool.
Yeah?
Yeah, she's so awesome. I love telling the story, too, because it warms my heart. There's a day, and, mind you, this is like me getting my feet wet. First couple of times on set was like through Hot Pursuit, Daddy's Home, and American Horror Story. But she was sitting there, and it was like the last episode of Freak Show, and they asked me to sweep the stage in front of her. But she had lines, so I had to sweep the stage quietly. And I was like, what? They're like, pantomime. I was like, well, why don't I just carry the broom? They're like, no, we need you to sweep. It's going to look stupid if you just walk by with a broom. I'm like, so you need me to sweep without making noises. You realize that's going to be insane, right? So I'm sitting here sweeping this stage, barely missing the floor, so it looks like I'm really sweeping, so I'm like actually like kind of pushing dust around the stage with the wind of the broom. One of the takes, the broom hit the floor. It made a loud noise, and they had to reset the take. And I was like, God, I felt so bad. Like my stomach was turning because I was like, I just messed up a take of American Horror Story. Oh my God. Like I felt so bad. But she smiled and she was like, you're doing great. And she told me like that. She's like, you're doing great, honey. And years later, one of my friends from American Horror Story, Erica Irvin, she plays the tall lady in Freak Show. She's also in American Horror Story Cult. She's a great person. Years later, she went to a party for American Horror Story with Kathy Bates. Kathy Bates said, how's everyone doing from Freak Show? And she said, oh, they're doing great. And she told her, yeah, and Joe's got a part with Tom Hanks. And Kathy Bates said, I loved every part of that show, even the people that swept the floors.
Oh.
Whenever I heard she said that, I was like, oh, man, I got chills. I was like, that's so cool.
That is so sweet because that's an inside.
Yeah.
That's sort of a little, just kind of a you and her sort of thing. I mean, sure, there's other people that know it, but that's really sweet.
I really don't know if anybody else knows it. That whole conversation between me and her was like by herself.
That is so dope. So you mentioned Hot Pursuit. That's the one that had Reese Witherspoon and what's her name in it?
Sofia Vergara.
Yeah, that's her name. My wife and I saw that in the theater, and now tell me if I'm wrong, but we're watching this in the theater, and I'm seeing some of this background and some of these locations and scenes and things, because basically Reese Witherspoon is a cop, and she's trying to take in or protect or whatever, Sophia.
Yeah.
Did some of that get filmed in Texas?
None of it.
None of it?
Maybe some exterior shots or some like establishing shots, maybe. I don't know. But the majority of it was filmed in New Orleans, I think Shreveport, and then a place called Four Lakes or something. I can't remember the name of it. Northern Louisiana.
Whoa. Okay. Well, when I first brought up Hot Pursuit, you started giggling like a schoolgirl. How come?
Oh, geez. Well, that was a weird experience, man. The movie was called Don't Mess with Texas before they changed the name. And I just heard, hey, you're gonna be in this movie with Sofia Vergara and Reese Witherspoon. It's called Don't Mess with Texas. All I did was send in pictures. I didn't even audition.
Really?
Yeah, so I was like, oh, I'm just an extra. That's what I was thinking. And this was the first time that I ever went from being, just somebody on set that's learning background to being in the scene. And it was just me, Sofia Vergara, and Reese Witherspoon. So whenever they set me up behind the counter and they told me, okay, Sophia's gonna be here, Reese is gonna be here, there's their marks on the ground, and I'm like, wait, that's it? It's just us three? I was like, I thought I was just background in this. And they're like, no, you're not background, man, you're in the script. I'm like, I'm in the script? And they're like, yeah, you don't know what you're doing today? I was like, no. I was like, they didn't even audition me, they just saw my picture and picked me. I was like, that's pretty much it. And the guy was like laughing, he's like, oh, this is priceless. Oh, hold on, I'm gonna bring you some sides. So he goes outside, comes back, and he has sides, and he's like, here, enjoy. And I start flipping through these sides, and for those listening, whenever someone says sides on set, they mean a side of the story for your character, which is usually like the scenes they're shooting that day or the scenes you're auditioning with. So I'm reading through them, and sure enough, I'm in this scene, I'm written in the script, and it is a weird, embarrassing, intimate moment with me and Sofia Vergara. And I was like, oh, God, my girlfriend at the time, she was on set. So I ran out there, and I gave her the sides, and I went, hey, do you approve? I was like, are you okay with this? Because I would have told you had I known, I promise. And she read through it, and she was like laughing. She's like, this is hilarious. I can't believe you're in this movie. She's like, and I'm jealous. So what the scene ended up being was I was a cashier, and Sophia and Reese don't want to get spotted because they were on TV, on like FBI's Most Wanted. So they try to distract me. And Sophia goes, I have an idea. And she gives me $100 bill. So I'm looking at a $100 bill. And then she bends over the counter, and I'm supposed to stare down her shirt. And it was so awkward because I'm like, I respect these actresses, and I'm not really like that. I'm not even going to say really. I'm not like that in real life. You know, I respect women and stuff. So I got awkward, and the camera guy, the AC behind me goes, you know what? It just doesn't look right on camera. His eye line's not right. And they're like, why is your eye line not right? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought since you guys are filming me from behind, I could look, a little away. That way I'm not being disrespectful. And Reese Witherspoon leans over the counter and looks at me and goes, honey, just stare at her tits. And it was the funniest thing that's ever happened to me. Like Reese Witherspoon saying that to you just changes everything about the filming situation.
That is a wonderful story, man. Thanks for sharing that. That's hilarious. Well, I'm glad that they changed the name of it since none of it was shot in Texas.
Yeah.
Silly bitch. I know that.
Well, don't quote me on that. If they did shoot something in Texas that I didn't know, I don't know. But
no, I know that they
yeah.
did. I know they did. They shot some exterior stuff, like you said. Particularly, I don't know, there's some driving or some chasing scenes or whatever, and there's very specific
Texas monuments.
Well, not monuments, but just sort of landmarks. If you know your back roads in Texas.
Oh, okay.
The only reason that I noticed it is because there were signs pointing, very specific signs pointing to this small town where my daughter was living at the time. That's the only reason I noticed it.
Cool.
Wow, that's awesome. You haven't been in the business very long, right?
Oh, man. I did that movie and I did Daddy's Home in 2014. Both those parts were just like bit parts. It wasn't a speaking role, but I loved it so much. And I thought that I was like, I think I did a little all right. I did well. And if I get auditions, because I still hadn't gotten auditions yet, I was like, if I get auditions and they pick me, then I'm an all right actor. I'm getting picked. If they don't pick me, then so be it. So I told my girlfriend at the time in 2015, it was like January or February in 2015, my boss, I was working as a mechanic. He fired me because I was wanting to go to college. He said, if you're going to college, you can't work for me full time. I don't need you. And he fired me. And then my college shut down. So that sucked. So I was like, man, I got to do something with my life. And, all my plans are kind of like just crumbling out from underneath me. I tried to do the go-to work route like everyone wanted me to do. I just started figuring maybe this is the moment for me to take a chance to actually develop my dream a little bit, maybe like put a little bit of investment in myself. And I told my girlfriend, I said, hey, look, because she was complaining. She was like, we're not complaining, but she was mad. She was like, oh, you've already tried to do this and you want to be a musician. You wanted to be a mechanic. You wanted to go to college. She's like, what's next? I was like, look, I promise. I was like, if I don't get a one-liner in a major motion picture within 5 years, then I'm not meant to be an actor. Just, I'm just going to spend 5 years of my life just giving it a shot. That's what I thought, right? I was like, and hopefully I'll have like a major motion picture one-liner in 5 years. The same year that I made that goal for myself, by that summer, I had already booked a lead role on Sci-Fi. It was a cheesy movie, but it ended up, that movie on Sci-Fi got me the agents I have today. And the agents I have today, they work so hard. Oh my God. Lawrence Turner and Fiona Turner, they're amazing. Fiona is an amazing person. Lawrence is an amazing person. They made it possible for me to get some of the most beefy, awesome auditions. And now I have like 3 major motion pictures that I'm in this year.
That's amazing. It sounds like all of the signs were pointing you in this direction, forcing you in this direction.
Yeah, forcing. Yeah, I feel that way. I mean, not even forcing, but guiding me, Like if I got confused about what the future would have held, I just kind of like gave into the idea that there was something bigger out there and that, life is short. Why waste my time? Why don't I go for my biggest dreams?
Well, no kidding. Well, it sounds like it's paying off, man. That's amazing.
Thank you.
There is a film, I believe it is a World War II film that has been highly anticipated.
Yeah.
I think it has something to do with like Mr. Rod. No, Tom Hanks. That's right.
One and the same.
Yeah, well, yeah, no kidding. So tell me about this film. It's called Greyhound, right?
Yep,
and
that's correct.
It's a World War II film. It was going to be in theaters, but now I understand it's going to be on Apple TV. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. Corona time. The coronavirus has ruined a lot of our plans for this year. But, Tom's a fighter, as you guys know. He was one of the first celebrities to actually get corona or get the COVID, because coronavirus just means coronavirus. But it's amazing seeing this man go through what he's gone through and still not give up and not let anyone stop him from getting his movie out. He's worked on this film for almost 10 years.
Who has?
Tom has. He began writing it way back in like 2013 or 14, I think.
So is this his second movie that he wrote? The first one was That Thing You Do?
The first one was That Thing You Do, and then he did Larry Crown.
Oh, he wrote that?
Yeah, and people complain about Larry Crown being too wholesome or too... It's a family-friendly movie, yeah, but it's also where, it's one of Rami Malek's first films, too. So it's cool to see that start for him.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't realize he was in that. I know Rami from... He did a film called Short Term 12.
Oh, wow.
It was about a psychiatric treatment facility. Yeah, so that every time I saw, like when I saw Mr. Robot or whatever, like every time I would see Rami Malek, I'm like, oh, that's the dude from Short Term 12.
That's cool.
And I think that the girl from Room, what's her name? Not Captain America, the lady one.
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel, yeah.
Brie Larson.
Yeah, I believe that she was in that too. Don't quote me on that, folks, but I'm pretty sure that's how that all worked out.
Hey, yeah, he gives us a reason to go check it out and see.
Yeah. So tell me about working on this Tom Hanks movie.
Man, where do I begin?
Well, first, how did you get that? Like, was that just an audition, or how'd that happen?
Yeah, well, after years of auditioning for other casting directors and stuff, I started auditioning for a casting director in New Orleans, and they are incredible. Megan's an amazing person, and she liked me from the get-go. Whenever I came in there for the first few auditions I did with her, we had fun. I didn't book the parts, but we had fun. Like, I got in the room, she was laughing. She was like, oh, okay, that was a really good experience, and thank you and have a great day. That's pretty much the only thing you're going to hear from a casting director. They're not going to call you and tell you whether you got it or not. They're not going to tell you any of that. So it's like, I wasn't booking parts, but she kept calling me back in. So I was like, instead of getting down on myself, like some actors will, if they don't get a part, then the next time they go in, they'll have some kind of angst. They'll carry that with them. Right. Like, oh, I didn't get it last time. I'm probably not going to get it this time. And it's not how you treat your career. It's not how you treat people in general. So I walked back in there. Every time I didn't book a part, I'd go back in there like as if I already booked with her. I was already happy just because she was calling me in the room. I had heard about Tom Hanks coming to town to do this movie in 2014 before I even decided that I was going to hardcore devote myself to being an actor. I heard he was coming to town, and I'm like, this is my hometown. I hope I can get in that movie. And at the time, I was like, I'll even do a one-liner. I don't even care, So I was doing this audition. They told me, yeah, Tom Hanks is doing this film. They want you to audition for it. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. They gave me 15 pages of dialogue.
Oh my gosh.
That I had to remember. Now, there's not 15 pages of dialogue for my character in this movie.
Of course.
However, but there's also not 15 pages of dialogue for the character I auditioned for in the movie either, because it was cut, it was cut to 90 minutes. But it was a beautiful audition. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I remember to throw my phone in a closet, and I was like, okay, I told people on Instagram, I said, hey, I'm not going to be on social media for a while. You won't hear from me for a while, but it's a good reason. I promise you'll find out soon enough, And I just threw my phone in the closet and I left it alone for a week. I wasn't on social media. I even told people if they wanted to get a hold of me, they had to email me, and I would call them from someone else's phone, because I wanted to make sure that I had no distractions, no outside, no modern influences, because people in the 40s, they didn't have all this technology that distracted them from day-to-day activities, Back then, people actually liked to go outside and throw a ball or play baseball, instead of playing it on video games. So I wanted to make sure I had no outside influences. I listened to nothing but 1930s and 40s music. I'm not a method actor, but I wanted to be able to bring a certain aspect to my character, that maybe someone else wouldn't be able to if they were sitting on Facebook, in the middle of the audition hall or something, So the day comes, I went and did the audition, and I had a good feeling, because something you never hear a casting director say is, that was perfect. You never hear that. But there were 300 people auditioning for the part in Atlanta, and there were only about 30-something people in New Orleans. So I'm sitting in the hallway, and it's hard not to hear the casting director yelling at the actors because they're going into audition for Tom Hanks, and they're forgetting their lines one after another. And I mean, like, when I say like 20 people did not know their lines, that cut down that audition in New Orleans from like 30 to 10, you know? And I was just kind of blown away. I was like, man, I feel so confident about this audition. I just had it in my stomach. I just felt it like I wasn't even nervous. I was like, I feel good about this. And I went in there with so much confidence, and I did the thing. And sure enough, she goes, that was perfect. Thank you. Have a good day. And she goes, wait, one more thing. Tom Hanks told me he wants me to zoom in from your eyebrows to your chin, and we want to get your reactions for some of these crazy things that is, it's going to happen in the movie. So she starts like spitting out directions. Okay, you're going over here. Okay, the water's over here. Okay, this is exploding. It was an epic time. So like a week later, I got a phone call. When you audition for a Tom Hanks movie, you don't expect to have someone on the inside already. But someone that was my supporting actor from the sci-fi movie was actually working in the casting office. And she called me up and she was like, I'm freaking out because I'm working on this Tom Hanks movie, and you're one of the 2 people they're trying to pick for this big role. And I was like, this is crazy. I shouldn't even know this right now. I was like, this is epic. And I just crossed my fingers, waited for about 3 days, and got a call back. They said, you're going to boot camp.
Well, the craziest part about that story, ladies and gentlemen, is who the other actor was who Joe beat out. And that actor was Colin Hanks. So that is really... No, I'm just kidding.
I was about to say, I was like, wait, really?
That'd be amazing, right? He picked you over his own kid.
Oh, man. He picked Chet over Colin. Oh, no.
No.
Dude, Chet did so awesome in that film. Shout out to Chet Hanks. You couldn't even tell that he was Tom Hanks' son in Greyhound.
Chet is in Greyhound?
Chet is in Greyhound, and you can't even tell it's him. He's such a good actor, man. He's just like his dad. He's just a really good actor.
We're talking about the same Chet, right?
Yeah, Chet. What was his rapper name? God, I can't remember. Chester something?
Yeah, something like that. That's amazing. I had no idea he was in that film. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And so that's coming out.
It came out today.
What?
Yep,
it came out today on Apple TV?
It's out today on Apple TV Plus. And if you don't have Apple TV Plus, go to Walmart, get yourself a Roku stick. It plugs into any HD TV, and Apple TV has a month free trial. So there's no reason not to do it.
Oh, my goodness. I'm loving this. Thank you so much, because I am that guy. I don't have Apple TV, but I do have Roku.
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
Oh, this is fantastic. I can't wait, man. Now I'm excited. On a lighter note, you have another film coming out. Now, in this one, this is a Netflix original, maybe?
Yes, Netflix original.
And it's called Project Power. What's that all about?
August 14th, Netflix original, Project Power. Stars Jamie Foxx and Joseph Gordon-Levitt and MGK, Colson Baker. It's an action, kind of comic booky type feeling movie. I believe it's going to be rated R. I'm not sure. But it's a movie about a cop and a homeless man. I think he's homeless. A cop and a homeless man that are trying to get a drug off the street called Power. And this drug is known to give the user a superpower. But they don't know what the superpower is that it unlocks. So when they take the drug, they don't know what's going to happen until they take it. It's a pretty crazy movie.
Wow, so it could be anything from... There was a movie a long time ago. I can't remember what it was called. But Pee Wee Herman, Paul Rubens.
Yeah.
His character was the spleen, and so his superpower was that he could...
Mystery Men.
Yeah, his superpower was he could throw farts.
Yes, I love that movie so much.
You could get
the
that
bowler.
Superpower. Yeah, the bowler. That's right.
Oh, dude. Yeah, she had her boyfriend's head in the bowling ball. That's such a crazy movie.
That is a crazy movie. That's nuts. Nice. So it could be that, or you could be Superman. So that sounds like a very interesting concept for a film.
Right.
Was that just another... Oh, real quick, I want to tell you a story about casting directors.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you really only hear a couple of things from casting directors, which is like, thank you, next.
Pretty much.
Well, there is a story that I heard from the gentleman's own lips. There was a movie a long time ago. I won't tell you the name of it until the end of this story. But there was an actor who went in to audition for this film, and he even admits today he's a terrible auditioner. And so he knew he was back then too. And he went in and he auditioned for this film and they said, okay, great, thanks. And then he left. And as he got to his car, the casting director came running out and said, look, I know that you can do better than this.
Oh, man.
So I've convinced them to let you do it again. So now I want you to go in there, do it again, and this time kill it. And so then Sean Penn did get the role.
Oh, wow.
Of
Spicoli?
Spicoli.
No.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that's a Spicoli.
Epic,
Isn't
dude.
that crazy?
That's completely crazy. That's epic.
And, you were talking about how that casting director, even though you had never been, I guess, gotten the part, but she just kept having you come in.
Yeah.
That speaks to, their whole job is to find people who they think are right for certain parts and who have the goods. And even though you didn't get whatever roles, the fact that she kept calling you was reason for you to be excited like you were, to go in and treat it like you did get all the other parts, because all that really matters to get into that room is to impress her. And you were doing that over and over again. So good job.
Thank you.
So you mentioned, I think you said something like Joesph, Gordon-Levitt, and Jamie Foxx. I think I have those names right. I've never heard either one of those names. So I think that's what you said. Did you get to work with either or both of them?
So I didn't get to work with Jamie Foxx, but I did get to work with Joe, and he's awesome. He likes to be called Joe, so he's awesome. He came up to me at the end of the couple of days I worked with him, and he gave me a big bear hug, and he was like, "Thank you so much for giving it everything you got." I'm excited. I actually got to see early clip of some of my scenes. I have some action sequences. There's so much that I can't say, so I'm trying to tiptoe around that.
Sure.
But it looked awesome. It looked so awesome. And I can't wait for people to see this movie.
Nice. And that's coming out, did you say August 14th?
It's slated for August 14th right now.
Nice. So are you going to be one of those guys who all of a sudden just takes over Netflix?
I would love to.
You're just going to be in everything?
That would be really cool.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
So this person spent quite a bit of time in the commission of this monstrous act.
Hi, y'all. I'm Vincent, host of Gone Cold Podcast, Texas True Crime. Each week, we take a thorough look at lesser-known unsolved cases throughout the Lone Star State. Hear victims' stories as told by their loved ones, and expert insight from law enforcement and medical professionals.
Using a hatchet, that's an extremely violent and rageful type of act.
The truth is out there somewhere, and you can help us find it.
Before I die, I want to know who did it.
Please join us as we examine forgotten Texas cases. Subscribe and listen to Gone Cold Podcast, Texas True Crime on your favorite podcatcher.
There are monsters among us.
Let's get back into it.
As of now, I don't know what the future holds, but I have 2 other full-length features that I've got a really awesome emotional part in both of them, and I don't know where those are going to end up at.
Really?
Yep.
Can you tell the names of those, or is that a secret?
One of them is such a secret that I'm not allowed to talk about it at all, but the other one is All My Life, and it's a true story, so it's not too much of a secret. That's kind of the cool part. Jen Carter is a woman who went through a whole lot. Her and her husband Saul, they went through a lot, and their story inspired millions of people around the world. So they wanted to make a Universal Picture movie about it. I mean, I would too when you hear the story. And if you guys want to know the story, just go look up Jen Carter and Saul. But the coolest thing about this movie was it was the first time that I worked with almost every cast member in the movie.
Oh, really?
Because the scenes that I got, I was in with everyone, and it was really nuts because Jay Farrow from Saturday Night Live is there, John Rudnitsky from Saturday Night Live is there. But the most incredible experience was going to the table read and sitting down at the table read and just being just absorbing it, just taking it all in and being like, man, this is going to be an awesome day. And I look over to the right and there's an empty seat right next to me, and the script sitting on the table in front of the seat said Molly Hagan. And I was like, there's no way, because I'm a big fan of iZombie, and she plays Liv's mom in the show. And I was like, there's no way that no, there's got to be another Molly. There's got to be. And sure enough, she came in, she introduced herself to me, sat down next to me, and we started doing the table read, and we were all acting. And this is the last film I just did. That was probably one of the most awesome experiences ever, because that role in that film would definitely bring you to tears. That's all I can say. It would definitely bring you to tears. And I'm honored. I'm honored to be in that film.
And what's the name of this film again?
It's called All My Life. And it's by Universal Pictures.
And we don't know when or where it's coming out, right?
Nope. All I know it's Universal. That's all I know.
Well, hopefully they're going to wait till the end of the year, award season, and maybe put it in actual theaters. Wouldn't that be neat?
Right. That'd be really good. That'd be neat.
That would be neat. Wow, that's amazing.
I like that word, neat.
So what was the other film you said you just did that was very emotional part?
That was the very emotional part one, except for, Greyhound. If anyone saw Greyhound, all the reviews have been kind of 50-50. Like one person will say, "Oh my God, I love it. It deserves Oscars." And then the only bad reviews I've heard about Greyhound are, "We want more characters. We want more character building. We want to know more about these characters." And so whenever I was hearing these reviews before I saw the movie, I was like, what? There's plenty of character building. And then I saw the film and I was like, oh man, they cut this 2-hour script into 90 minutes. So they only have a certain amount of time to shove all of these characters and all this story into 90 minutes. And so when you watch it on Apple TV today, it's an action-packed 90-minute World War II thriller that keeps you on the edge of your seat the entire time. I love that. That is awesome. But if you're one of those people that likes the character building part, you want to see more about the characters, there is 2 hours worth of footage that they need to release in a director's cut.
I find it a little hard to understand why they would cut it so much if it was going to be on Apple TV. It's not like they got to, make that film short enough so that it plays 9 times a day at the theater. I mean, you're at home.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, here's my theory. I think Tom Hanks is a genius. I mean, just working with him for so long. Like there were scenes in the movie that I wasn't even in the scene, but he called me on set that day just to hang out with him on set.
What?
Yeah, because I had mentioned to him on set one day, I said, hey, we did boot camp for the movie before we actually did the film. We did boot camp. If you want to hear about the boot camp experience, you can go. I don't want to advertise another podcast, so you can just go watch some of the other interviews I've done, because I've talked about the boot camp experience a lot, but I never got to talk about this part. Tom, he's such a genius when it comes to writing, and he cares so much about his movies that we had a whole conversation one night. We had a conversation about how Toy Story was so widely, worldwide accepted. People wanted the characters on their T-shirts. They wanted the toys. They wanted the video games. He's like, that's what his goal was with Greyhound. He wanted to make a movie that would get, go viral in a sense. He knows it's the modern day is different. I think what they're doing is they want a short, fun thriller that you can watch multiple times on Apple TV, right? So the first time we watched that thriller last night with friends and family, first time we watched it, everybody loved it. I went back and watched it again, second time, just so I can get clips from my demo reel and stuff. And I went back to watch it again, and the movie was different. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to say how, but me and a friend both noticed that this movie was different. So I'm not sure, but I'm going to make this a theory. I think they have multiple versions of this film, and every time you watch it, you might end up seeing different scenes that you didn't see the last time.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm serious, and it's so cool if they did that, because, and the reason why I think that is because I've watched it 3 times now, and 2 out of the 3 times it had a different running time. One time it said it was 95 minutes long, and then the other time it said it was 91 minutes long. That's 4 minutes of footage. That's a lot.
Whoa, that's really cool.
Right?
You know what? And that's not something you could pull off in a theater.
Nope.
That is definitely something you could pull off at your home with your device that knows that this is not the first time you're watching it.
Exactly.
That's really super cool. Joesph, can you tell everybody where they can find you on social media?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. It's JOESY_Poliquin. Pelican's actually a nickname that Dale Dye and Tom Hanks gave me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it works because it's Louisiana,
Yeah, well, that's true. To have a nickname given to you by the great Tom Hanks.
Right.
Oh my goodness. That is amazing. Oh, do you know the nickname he gave me?
What's that?
Exactly. Yeah, I don't have one. I don't have one. Now I'm going to have to get one. Joe, as we're heading out here, is there anything that we didn't talk about or I didn't ask you about that you wanted to talk about?
I mean, you hit pretty much all of the major points.
Sweet, thanks. Last question. You produced and directed 2 independent feature films.
I did.
What are they called?
One is called Immurement. Made that one in 2015.
Can you spell that?
Immurement. Immurement. The word itself means to bury someone alive in a structure. They used to do this back in like the 13th century. They used to torture people. And not only did they torture people, sometimes they would just build a bridge and they would take people that they had in prison camps. They would put them alive in the walls of the bridge and let them die in the bridge because they believed that their souls would strengthen the bridge.
Really?
Yeah, it's a creepy folklore. The whole immurement thing is a weird thing. So I love the idea of it because I was like, this is so creepy. And the fact that people really did this, it's creepy. So I made a movie around it about a guy, and his name's Dylan Gregory. His daughter gets in a car wreck, and she's in a coma. And he can't afford her hospital bills. He can't afford her surgeries. And he's trying to renovate his house so that he can mortgage his house and just make a little money. And he's trying to do that, but then he catches his daughter's boyfriend sleeping with another woman in her bed while she's in a coma, and he snaps and he kills her, and then he buries that guy in his remodeling in his house. And one after another, more people start snooping around and investigating it. So it's like, it's a pretty fun movie, but I like to call them no budget slashers or no budget feature films because we really don't have a dime in these films. We just do them strictly for fun, just to get the experience, give other new, people experience if they've never been on set. And at the end of it, we have a film that may be cheesy, may be lacking in certain spots, budget-wise. But when people watch it, they can tell themselves, wait, they did that with no money, then I can make a movie with no money. And that's what we're trying to inspire that.
True indie filmmaking.
Yes.
Nice. And what's the other one? First, let me say, did you say it's called Immurement?
Yes, Immurement.
Now, that's so weird that words exist for very specific things.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very specific definition. It reminds me of the word defenestrate. Do you know what that means?
No.
Defenestrate, defenestrate. It means to throw someone out of a window.
Oh, man.
Is that insane? There's an actual word for throwing a person out of a window.
Well, now I'm going to be using it in the conversation.
There you
go. Somebody's being annoying or aggravating. He's like, don't make me demonstrate. Is it demonstrate?
Defenestrate.
Defenestrate. That's even crazier. Don't make me defenestrate you. What? I will throw you out this car window.
That's right. So what is the other independent film?
The other film is called Lust Zombie. It's not a zombie flick, unfortunately, for those zombie fans out there, but it is a movie about a girl whose online screen name is Lust Zombie. And she gets kidnapped. We go full circle in this life. So, like I said, I started my band. I had to change the name because of Amber Alerts, because it was I respect that, and it was a big deal to me. But one day, very recently, I got an Amber Alert on my phone at a party, and everyone at the party got the Amber Alert. And it only stopped the party for 1 minute, and that kind of disgusted me. It was like everyone got this alert on their phone that said this girl came up missing. But what are we supposed to do about it? Like, we were supposed to all jump in our car and go like Scooby-Doo, Mystery Machine detectives, go look for this person. Like, we didn't, there was nothing you can really do. So you get these alerts, and it only stops your real life for like a minute. And it makes you feel, you feel bad for that person that just came up missing or got kidnapped. So I wanted to make a story about like what happens if a group of friends ignores that Amber Alert and then they end up getting kidnapped along with the victim. And that's what that movie's about.
Wow. That sounds amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Can these films be seen anywhere?
Immurement can be seen on YouTube in its entirety. It's only a 51-minute long movie. I had a 70-minute cut, and we had to cut it down to 51 minutes for a festival. It was one of the only festivals that accepted it. So they were like, well, it has to be under 60 minutes. So I cut it down. But like I said, it's a no-budget film. So when you watch it, you're thinking, they had no money. These people had no money, and they made this film happen. Lust Zombie itself, you can see the trailer on YouTube, but the movie has not been released yet. We're actually still filming parts of that one.
Gotcha. Well, those are super dope, man.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to seeing both of them.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
All right. Well, Joseph Poliquin, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to hang out and let us get to know you a little bit on Fascination Street, man. Thanks so much.
Hey, not a problem, man. Not a problem.
And you have a great rest of your weekend, man.
You too, man. Fascination Street's awesome.
Ah, thanks. Bye, Joe.
Later.
As always, thanks for listening, Streetwalkers. And don't forget, follow the show on Twitter at FascinationSTPD, on Instagram at Fascination Street Pod. Follow the podcast page on Facebook at Fascination Street Podcast. And of course, you can always email me at fascinationstreetpod@gmail.com. And if you haven't already, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and rate us on iTunes. Opening music is the song Magnolia from the 2014 album Intransigence, used with permission from Douglas Miles Clark. Closing music is Apollo from the 2001 album Into the Known by the band Sapphire. Thanks for hanging out with us and getting to know a little bit about our guest. We'll see you next time on Fascination Street.